Begin. Interior fabrication room day. Title over, May 18th, 1972. In a darkened room not much bigger than 2 jail cells, concrete walls painted blue, and the floor naked. Green translucent glass block window 10 feet off the floor. Fabricator 55. Chubby bespectacled, large hands travails on a corner table covered with tools. Rebecca Day, 8. Coltish, gangly, blonde, shoulder-length hair, tiptoes into a dimly lit room. Wears clean cotton gauze. Fabricator approaches, smiles. Rebecca slides onto the thin rubber mat, uncertainty and fear etched on her face. A shiny chain with a leather halter hangs from the ceiling. Fabricator strides over, places halter gently around her head, cinches it tight.
This won't hurt, but it will feel cold and icky for a while, just until the plaster hardens. It'll make a nice cast for us to work from. Stand up tall now.
Pulley system tugs upward until Rebecca's feet scrape the floor. The bucket of white plaster rests near her side.
Okay, try not to hold your breath. This is going to feel cold.
Fabricator pulls plaster wraps out of buckets, one by one, and wraps them around her narrow torso, smoothed into place until the cover from her under the chin down to her private region.
Now, we'll let that set a little while. I'll be right back.
Rebecca shivers, molded. Fabricator ambles out of the room. Rebecca watches shadows shift on the wall. The plaster hardens. In the shadows, random people appear. They alternately point and laugh at her. Rebecca imagines herself walking like a robot, as fast as she can, away. She trips and falls, falling. Timer rings. Rebecca jolts the present from her nightmare. Fabricator returns. He draws the tools off the table. Cut her worst to life. Fabricator carefully cuts the plaster mold from Rebecca's body.
There, you're all done. The nurse will take you to the shower now. You've been a good girl.
Interior, shower room. Shower water splashes off the tiled walls. Rebecca's small feet move slowly in a circle beneath the shower curtain. Water, soap, and particles of plaster swirl around them. A pensive look fills Rebecca's face as she clutches the shower curtain to herself and reaches for a towel. At the same time, another hand reaches for the towel hanging beside her. Rebecca wraps herself in the towel and exits the shower cubicle to find another girl. Molly, 10. Short, dark brown, curly wet hair. Rebecca's eyes are red and swollen.
Hi, I'm Molly. What's your name?
Rebecca.
Rebecca makes eye contact.
The white stuff's really cold, eh? Have you had a brace made before?
No, have you?
It's not fun at all.
Does it really look ugly?
You'll get used to it. Hey, the second shower is the warmest, okay?
Okay, thanks.
Rebecca shivers.
I have to go. My mom's waiting for me outside. Bye.
Bye.
Molly slips around the corner out of sight. Rebecca sighs and hugs herself tight. She steps into the second shower and reaches out to hang the towel up again. Turns on the warm water. Steam rises over the shower curtain. Interior reception area. Rebecca appears in a nearly empty waiting room, dressed in shorts, t-shirt, and running shoes. She slides over and sits on the brown plastic bench beside Mother Day, 30. Harried looking, brown permed hair streaked with gray. Mother looks helpless. Rebecca resolved. Office busyness moves around them. A nurse, pretty, 30s, dressed in white pants and a white top with white shoes, approaches.
Okay, Rebecca. It will take a little while to make the brace, so you two are free to go shop or have lunch or whatever. Be back by 3.
Rebecca stands up and looks questioningly at her mother, who then rises. The pair walks quickly toward the door. Exterior, sidewalk, busy street. The pair walks out of the office door. Mom moves quickly down the cement steps to the sidewalk. She pulls Rebecca behind her. Rebecca stumbles down the steps, pulls her hand from her mother's, and rights herself. Rebecca looks up at her mother, no trace of fear on her face. Rebecca smiles reassuringly. Her mother reaches for her small hand and gives it a squeeze. Interior, Rebecca's bedroom, later that afternoon. Rebecca stands in front of the mirror, moves her large short-sleeved flowy shirt. The full-body brace reflection resembles a piece of twisted art. Rebecca winces at the sight and performs one small, slow turn. She examines the contraption. Wind chimes tinkle, sunlight reflecting off them. They hang by the open window, caught in a gentle breeze. The metal cage with the nylon chin support and 1-inch wide steel bar attached to it at the front. The 2 other plastic neck supports and 2 half-inch wide steel bars running the length of her undershirted back at the rear, partially hidden under her hair. The hard plaster, body-hugging, curved piece wraps around her middle, extends down from her ribs to her pubic bone and circles to the back, midway across her buttocks. Behind metal tines cinch the 2 leather straps and the brace firmly into place. A brown leather pad circles her left arm with straps tied to the screws on the back and front metal bars. The right side push pad attaches to opposite bars with more leather straps. Rebecca grimaces, puts her shirt back on, and throws herself onto the ruffled gilt on the single bed. She listens to the gentle tinkling. She rolls onto her back and looks thoughtfully, staring at the ceiling fan that turns slowly. She gets up and looks in the mirror again. Her hands run the length of the body brace. She feels its firm coolness, puts her hands on her plaster-covered hips, and looks calm, accepting. Interior, sun.
That's where the narrator changes.
Interior sedan. Title over. August 2nd, 1974. Glorious blue fills the sky, the sun bright. Rebecca, now 10, watches as trees pass by. Sedan turns onto a narrow street, passes a welcome sign. Knoxville, population 500. The car drives by a large factory, run-down convenience store, and post office. Vehicle stops. Exterior driveway. Handsome Father Day, early 30s, garbed in military Air Force blues, jet black hair, black mustache, 6 feet tall, wearing spit-polished black shoes.
Everybody out, let's go explore your new rooms.
Mother and Brother Day, 5, dirty blonder hair, bored eyes, walk, as a unit, into their new home.
Come on, Rebecca.
Rebecca tumbles out of the large blue Buick, lands in a heap with a thud on the black asphalt driveway outside the family's 1960 white brick bungalow. The sold sign still marks a well-groomed lawn. Cicada chirp in the heat. A trio of children stands on the nearby concrete sidewalk. They stare and laugh at her misstep. Tim, 12, lanky with tousled brown hair, piercing green eyes, and dirty clothes, leads the group, exhales smoke, and flicks the ashes expertly. At his side, his friend Christina, red hair in ringlets down around her shoulders, imitates Tim's every move. And David, 9, Christina's younger brother, the classic follower, shorter with interned shoes, shuffles when he walks and mumbles when he talks, his hair short, straight, and black. David pulls a red metal wagon containing Christina and a wriggling tawny-colored puppy.
Did you see? Jarheads, the lot. Why don't they just go live on the base with the rest of them?
Yeah, my dad says they get special privileges, things we don't get.
Oh, they do. Planes, rides, swimming, lots.
Christina glances as Rebecca picks herself up off the driveway, pretends not to hear. Tim's father, late 30s, works at the town's factory, suddenly shouts loudly with a deep, scary voice from inside the home, 2 doors down from Rebecca's.
Tim! Where the hell are you? Get your sorry ass in here before right this minute, boy.
Tim jumps and hurries to throw the cigarette to the ground. He scurries quickly home, a look of fear on his face. Takes care not to slam the front door on his way in. Without their leader, the duo quickly tires of this sport. Christina pulls David as they head away and talk and laugh. Come on, let's get this baby puppy home. Mom will be wondering why his walk took so long. Rebecca watches all of this and then shies away from meeting their backs with her hurt, blue-gray eyes. Dusts herself off and reaches into the car to grab her wind chime. The light flashes off it, catching Christina's eye. With it tinkling as she walks quickly, Rebecca's face a mix of relief and shame, she slips into the house.
Narrator 3, whoever that. Oh, is that him? I'll do it. An interior school classroom, title over, September 1974. General classroom chatter. Teacher Miss Parks, 40, hugely overweight, walks with a roll to her gate, enters the classroom. Noise quietness.
Class, today we're going to practice our adding and subtracting. See what we remember after summer vacation.
Class utters various groans.
I've written a question on the board and I need 3 people to solve it. Whoever solves it first gets to choose from the treat jar. Now, who's game? Okay, I guess I get to choose today.
Miss Parks surveys the room. Her eyes come to rest on the tow-haired 10-year-old Stephen seated in the second row.
Stephen, Rebecca, you can have the middle board, and Tim.
All watch the new girl, who sits awkwardly straight in her slanted wooden seat, make her way out of her seat and up to the board. Furtive whispers surround her.
She's a jawhead to be, you know.
She part robot?
What's wrong with her?
I can make a 4th question for anyone who continues talking. Everyone write this question into your exercise books, please. Let's see how they do.
Quiet in the classroom as the students quickly write, only the sound of chalk scratching on the blackboard. Rebecca puzzles quickly through the question, confidence on her face. Rebecca finishes and places her chalk on the ledge. Most of the children watch her walk back to the seat. Rebecca looks very self-conscious, lowers her eyes, clenches her hands as she walks, and tries her best to slouch into her seat.
Rebecca, that's very good. You got the right answer.
Stephen, too, sits down, leaves Tim alone at the side blackboard, obviously struggling with the question incomplete on his section.
You may sit down, Tim.
Tim, his face reddened, turns and glares in Rebecca's direction on his way back to his desk. Miss Parks puts a large check mark beside Rebecca's work. She moves over to Stephen's.
Good job, Stephen. Always try to print your neatest, okay? And Tim, some trouble here, eh? Okay, class. Please copy down Rebecca's work and then turn to page 20 in your textbook.
Rebecca turns and glances in Tim's direction. He spots her, his head resting on his arm. She quickly turns back to face the front of the room. Exterior tarmac behind the school. Children's voices and shouts mix with rustling trees and birds singing. A ball thuds into a glove. A crack rings out as the bat recoils off the ball. Children cheer. Ripples of heat waves rise off the tarmac. Rebecca approaches, uncertain but resolved. She swallows.
Hi. Can I play?
Christina looks to Tim, whose cigarette hangs comfortably out of the corner of his mouth.
Who are you kidding? With that thing on? You probably couldn't even throw a ball.
Rebecca, her face disappointed and angry, not surprised, walks away holding herself up tall. A wasp nest nearby buzzes, and one stray wasp wanders over Rebecca's way. She slaps at it, but it continues to pester her, landing on her hand. As she waves at it rapidly, the wasp stings. Rebecca yelps, but that's the only word about it as she remains strong in the sight of the trio of ball players. Rebecca finds a cool, shady concrete alcove out of sight near where they play. She rubs the wasp sting slowly. Rebecca watches the kids longingly. Their footfalls pound the trodden earth, then cease. The softball rolls across the front of the alcove. Tim and his sweaty playmates lope across the dusty play yard towards Rebecca. Tim leers, seeing Rebecca as they approach. He strolls, licks his lip like a lizard, and then blinks his eyes slowly. Rebecca hauls herself up to her feet and takes a step slowly backwards.
She wants to play? Okay, let's find out how strong she really is. Shall we?
Tim walks up the 2 concrete steps.
Let's do this. You want me to punch you in the stomach? If you can take it, you can play.
Rebecca pales, glances at Christina and David. Christina averts her eyes slightly. Rebecca nods, tilts her head to the left.
All right, you gotta play.
Tim's fist thrusts forward and strikes her middle with ferocity. It lands with a dull thud on the metal and plaster beneath her shirt.
Ow!
Tim's face reddens, embarrassed. Before he can wind up to hit her again, Christina grabs his arm. He wrenches it away. He pulls back with a reddened hand. David and Christina jump back and down a step. A hint of a smile curves the left corner of Rebecca's pursed mouth. Tim's face clouds with fury. He wordlessly turns on his heel and marches away across the playground, his eyes squeezed shut as a tear or two escape down his face. His impressed entourage closely in tow, they disappear around a corner. Rebecca sinks slowly to brace herself on the cool stair. She looks bewildered as she rests her chin on her hand. Sorrow lines her dusty, tear-stained face. She keeps rubbing the wasp sting on her hand. Salty tears wash the sting.
Interior, in the school, outside the girls' washroom. Rebecca walks into the girls' bathroom. No one else visible. Suddenly, Tim and David poke their heads around a corner. They carry a red plastic pail. The duo dumps something onto the floor that looks like clear slime. Then they run off. A toilet flushes. Water runs. Rebecca comes around the corner and wipes out on the slippery mess. She lands hard. The brace rings out as the metal hits the tile floor.
Ah! Oh! Ow!
A group of 5 kids, including Tim and David, stroll by the head down the hall. They snicker. Rebecca rolls onto her hands and knees and stands slowly, awkwardly, her face red. She runs back into the bathroom. Interior gymnasium. Title over, October 10th, 1974. Boisterous sounds bounce down the hallways as the after-school soccer team files into the gym, lit by the low afternoon sun. Dressed in yellow and black school t-shirts and black shorts with the school logo, a hornet, prominent on their shirt fronts, children swarm the basket of soccer balls. One ball to every 2 players quickly raises the noise level to barely controlled cacophony. Rebecca pairs off with Christina. Everyone else already has a partner. Christina's long red hair twists in an equally long braid that flicks behind her as she whizzes, shouting down the center of the waxed, shoe-marked floor. Rebecca's brace, its chin rest, pokes out above the black collar of the shirt and glistens, a friction hole already breaking through along the roughened metal screws down the front. She smiles as she stretches her long legs.
Hey, pass the ball over here.
Her feet lightly carry her along the length of the gym, shoes shining white in their newness. She kicks the ball to Christina, who adeptly seizes its momentum and quickly passes it back. Rebecca smiles happily at the sound. She spies a black and white blur out of the corner of her eyes before the ball slams into her face. Swack! A few steps later, swoosh! Another barely misses her long, dark lashes. Rebecca stops. Her hand reaches up to caress her burning cheek. Nothing wet. Moments later, another ball slices her shin. Rebecca peers around. No one looks in her direction. Then a 4th ball slams into her back. It sends a jolt of kinetic energy up the length of the steel as the brace reverberates, rattling. Rebecca whirls around and sees Tim running away, laughing, and not looking for his runaway ball. Rebecca flees the gym, this time dry-eyed. Her lone footsteps echo down the hall. Exterior front steps of school. In the chill of October, trees turning color and leaves crunching underfoot outside the principal's corner office, where the window stands ajar. Christina waits, alone. Rebecca shyly approaches her solitary classmate, fingering the math book in her hand. The world around the 2 blurs in Rebecca's eyes. Christina glances around to see who might watch. Tim watches the pair out of the corner of his eye, flipping through a comic book at the same time. Christina marches up into Rebecca's face, backing her up into the metal railing. Rebecca, confusion on her face, struggles to keep her balance. She can't bend her rigid, braced body.
Fuck off!
Christina's face registers shock and she steps back. Rebecca looks as surprised. The sound of the harsh words trails off.
Oh, big words. Too bad you don't have anything smart to say now, do you, baby?
Rebecca turns and walks towards home.
Going home to mommy's poor baby. Got a muff on ya.
Interior, family home later that afternoon. The phone rings at Rebecca's home.
Yes, hello?
Indistinct sounds come from the earpiece. Rebecca's mother turns to look at Rebecca, raises an eyebrow in her direction, gestures to the phone. Rebecca shrugs. Her mother frowns. Her mother turns back to the shelter to shelter the conversation with her body. Rebecca runs outside. Mother covers the mouthpiece.
Wait.
Rebecca doesn't look back and doesn't stop. Exterior backyard. Rebecca clomps up the rickety wooden steps to the tree fort at the bottom of the 2 rolling hills that comprise the lawn behind her house. Haphazard, the fort stands above a swampy area as a refuge. Rusted nails poke through the barn boards. A bed of cedar boughs lends its fragrance to the interior. A dog-eared novel rests on an unopened yellow bucket in the corner of the triangular space of an old, thick candle sits in a tinfoil tray. Silence except for nature's song, whacking sobs, and the tinkling of Rebecca's wind chimes. The sobs subside. Rebecca fingers the pages of the book, and a book of matches previously unseen falls into the floor of the tree fort. A look of surprise crosses Rebecca's face. She picks up the matches and opens the book. She pulls a match out of the book, concentrates on it. She strikes the match. The match sizzles to life. She reaches for the candle and lights it. The wick a bit wet, the flame spits and flickers before becoming still. Suddenly, children's voices, the loudest belonging unidentifiably to Tim, carry over the air from the neighboring home's rear yard.
That's where she lives, sissy. She's so stupid. Swore the F word right outside the principal's office.
General children's laughter and hoots. Rebecca, unseen, peeks out of the hole in the corner of the fort. The voices fade. Rebecca spins around in fury and knocks over the candle. The flame catches the dry cedar boughs and they burn quickly. A soothing, smoky haze envelopes Rebecca, blurring the rest of her world. The glimpse of blue, cloudless sky quickly falls within smoke. Then she coughs and jerks herself into action. She jumps to the sodden ground, skipping all but 2 steps, and buries the dented metal bucket in the swampy brown water. She leaps up the steps this time, dumps the liquid over the charred boughs with a splash, and glumly surveys the damage. Her face streaked with soot and tears, she hugs herself tight, as tightly as she can be with the brace.
Exterior sidewalk on Rebecca's street. Rebecca skips along the sidewalk, backpack on, and red and white checkered lunch pail in her hand.
Stupid kid, come back here. I say get back here and I'll teach you to wake up to your father.
Tim tumbles out the front door of the house. The door slams behind him. He stumbles down the front steps and looks shocked to see Rebecca on the sidewalk. Shame marks his face. He doesn't miss a step and runs in the direction of the school, looking back over his shoulder, and sees no trace of his dad. Lights a cigarette. Surprise on her face, Rebecca follows, walks more slowly, looks thoughtful. Exterior, neighbor's front yard. The neighborhood trio of friends, led by Tim, stands feet apart, hands on their hips in Tim's front yard. The puppy, tied up on a leash, barks incessantly.
We promise
Scout's honor.
we will not pull you down the steps, just to the edge. It'll be fun to ride the wagon. You can even go first.
Rebecca nods, almost imperceptibly.
We'll add to it. Wear a blindfold, and that will make it cooler. Promise.
He adds as he spies Rebecca's doubtful face. Rebecca looks at Christina questioningly. Then, staring straight ahead, the world around the 2 of them momentarily blurs. Rebecca nods, her hands clenched. Her face a mask of distrust, she sizes up the lot of them. Dressed in dirt-stained jeans, sweaters, and boots, with hair askew from rough and tumble play. Tim possesses a look in his eyes that might be cause for pause. A realization flits across her face. She raises one hand unconsciously and runs it down the front metal bar of the brace. She shrugs and squeezes her somewhat tall for 10 frame into that old red wagon with its big black rubber wheels. Rebecca eyes the group one more time, Christina tucked behind Tim, out of eyesight. Gray-blue eyes wide, Rebecca sees only the blindfold. The unoiled wheels creak loudly for the short trip down the sidewalk. As the edge of the stairs come, the ride continues. In his efforts to pull the wagon hard, Tim drops his pop on the sidewalk, and the bottle shatters with a tinkling sound. Rebecca bumps down those 3 steps. The brace pinches her buttocks between the floor of the wagon and the unforgiving edge of the plaster cast. The next piece jars her head with each thud. The wagon finally comes to rest. Rebecca hears laughter and rips off the blindfold. She clambers out of the little red wagon, stands up awkwardly and glares at Tim resolutely, holds her head high. Then she turns, not looking back to see whether their smiles turn to concern. She limps home slowly, rubbing her buttocks. She raises her eyes to the sky as the heart tears well up, but they do not fall. Not this time. Interior, Rebecca's house, the kitchen. Rebecca's mother stands at the kitchen window. She catches sight of her daughter rubbing her buttocks as she walks in a seemingly painful manner.
Hi, Rebecca. Good time for you to come home. What's wrong? Did you fall?
No, Mom, I'm fine.
Would you set the table for supper then?
Rebecca walks slowly to the cutlery drawer. Her mother watches.
Did you have fun out this afternoon?
It was fine.
Her mother turns her attention to the dishes in the sink.
Well, it was a nice day to play outside.
Rebecca nods almost imperceptibly.
Are you ready for tomorrow? All your homework done?
Done.
Her mother turns back and studies Rebecca for a moment, picks up the tea towel to dry.
You're not very talkative.
Mom, please. I'm fine. Will Dad be home for supper?
No, his flight comes back late. It's just your brother and you and I.
Rebecca straightens up and sets the table. Once she rubs her buttocks, but quickly puts the hand back to work. She sets the dishes around the table, puts out the salt and pepper, distributes the cutlery, plops down the last fork, and flees the kitchen. On the street in front of Tim's house, Rebecca walks to school. Tim comes out of his house to head the same direction.
Hey, wait up.
Rebecca completely ignores him, her resolve not to look obvious on her face, and she accelerates her walk. Tim gives chase briefly.
Oh, come on, it was just a little ride. Hey, baby!
Tim slows down in disgust, and Rebecca continues to walk off into the distance, slinging her backpack onto her back. Tim lights a cigarette and follows a distance behind her.
Which narrator?
3.
3. Oh, that's me. Exterior city bus stop. Title over, November 10th, 1975. A cold snap in the air puts a hurry in every one step. The first flakes of the season sift gently down from the sky. 11 now, Rebecca stands off to the side as she waits with her mother for the city bus, down by the post office across from the factory. Suddenly, Christina appears beside her. Her mother, Mrs. Chatton, mid-30s, clad in wool, knee-length gray coat, scarf protecting her brown hairdo from the elements, walks up to Christina's mother. They step away, chatting indistinctly. Rebecca tenses. Christina looks up, catching Rebecca's eye, neither looks away.
Hi.
Christina's new dental braces glint in the sunlight, though she struggles to hide them by talking behind her hand. She waits for Rebecca to reply. With no one else around to impress, Christina's face open and friendly. Rebecca gazes at Christina curiously, notices the braces and smiles. Christina takes this as encouragement.
Where are you going? My mom and I are shopping for a new dress for the holidays.
We're going to the mall.
Christina looks at the non-chatty Rebecca and looks down. She fidgets, moves her feet again in the cold to warm them. She looks up at Rebecca again.
Boys are kind of boring, aren't they? Especially my brother. He calls me Tita. Brat.
Stupid boys.
Rebecca starts to walk away. Christina takes her hand briefly. Rebecca turns, curious. Christina looks into her eyes.
Tomorrow, why don't you come over to my house? I already asked my mom if I could have a friend over.
Rebecca thinks for a long moment, then nods her acquiescence.
Okay. After lunch, just come over. Tomorrow.
Rebecca smiles, turns away. People stare at her brace. The crowd blurs, buzzing as she locates her mother in it. The girls continue to wait for the bus. Interior family home the next day. Rebecca lays on her bed, eyeing her open closet. She stands out in front of the closet and sighs. She pulls out a top, turns it around on the hanger, and shakes her head quickly as she sees holes from the braces rubbing through. This repeats a couple of times until she finds a top with no holes in it. She moves to stand in front of the mirror and holds up the top, nods, smiles, and pops it over the brace. Exterior near Christina's home. Rebecca skips part of the distance to Christina's house. Christina greets her at the door.
Hi. Cool, you could come. Come on in. We'll go to the family room. I've got some Barbies there.
Interior, Christina's home. As the sun moves across the family room, the pair looks at teen magazine, plays board games, and shares a plate of cookies. Their voices mingle. Rebecca pauses after her turn and sizes up Christina, then nods to herself resolutely.
I have a fort.
Ooh, I've always wanted one, but my dad said that's for boys.
Well, I have a fort. It's behind our house.
Rebecca hesitates.
Would you like to come and see it?
Yes! Let me ask my mom if I can go.
Christina leaves Rebecca alone in the family room for a moment. She bursts back into the room.
I can, let's go!
Rebecca rises and the two girls leave the room. Exterior, Rebecca backyard. The sun's late fall rays paint the sky a rosy hue. The girls run over the top of the hills in Rebecca's backyard. Christina trips and tumbles down the hill. She jumps up at the bottom unhurt. Rebecca slows to take the hill more carefully and joins Christina at the bottom. Rebecca gestures to the fort.
Come on.
The girls clamber up the wooden stairs. Rebecca waits while Christina goes first.
This is the coolest.
Yeah. If you lay down right here, you can see the clouds floating by.
Rebecca lays down on her back, her head on the boughs. Christina lays down eagerly beside her and they look up through the hole in the roof. Rebecca nods and smiles. They are.